Do cops really have ticket quotas? Everybody's heard or thought this. Cops have quotas. They have to write a certain number of tickets every month. And honestly, I understand why people believe it. You see extra cops on the road, you get stopped near the end of the month, you see a seatbelt campaign or DUI detail, and from the driver's seat, it looks like there's officers out there trying to write a certain amount of tickets. But that was never my experience. See, I went months without making a single traffic stop. Months. Now, I wasn't just sitting around doing nothing. During that stretch, I handled a heavy volume of calls for service. But in regards to writing tickets, the only citations I issued were the result of traffic crash investigations where the evidence determined that one driver was at fault. And see, nobody pulled me aside at the end of the month and said, hey, you need to get your numbers up. There were no stack of tickets, no deadlines, no personal quota to fill. So why does this myth stick around? Because people usually put three very different things into the same bucket: quotas, focused traffic enforcement, and activity numbers. And they're not the same thing. Looking back, that stretch without a single traffic stop perfectly shows why citation numbers can be so misleading. See, I did write citations during those months, but not because I was out making traffic stops or trying to build a certain number. They were from crash investigations. When there's a crash, an officer has to figure out what happened and who was at fault. Who had the right of way? Did someone fail to yield? Did someone run a stop sign? Was there a violation that caused the crash? If the evidence shows that one driver was at fault and committed a violation, that driver may receive a citation. So when people see a citation total, they don't know the full story behind it. Those citations could come from traffic stops, crash investigations, a focused traffic detail, or something else entirely. The number alone does not explain why the citation was written. And that's exactly why we have to be precise about what a quota actually is. Writing a citation is not the same thing as being required to produce one. So what is the definition of a quota? Well, that's simple. It means someone tells an officer, hey, you need to write this many tickets, or make this many arrests, or hit this certain number by the end of the month. And if an officer doesn't hit it, then there's some sort of consequence, either discipline or a bad evaluation, maybe lost pay, no promotion, something like that. And this is the kind of policy many states have specifically pushed against. States including California, Texas, and Virginia, they all have laws aimed at formal or informal citation or summon quotas. Now, could there be a department somewhere where a supervisor is improperly pressuring officers to hit a certain number of tickets? Sure, it's possible, but unlikely. And if there is a department out there doing that, telling their officers they need to hit a specific number, that's wrong, and it needs to be changed. But one bad supervisor or one bad department does not prove that every officer in every city is working under this quota system. This is why this topic gets so confusing. People often lump together ticket quotas, traffic enforcement, activity tracking, and personal stories as if they're all the same thing, even though they're very different. So the blanket claim that every officer has to write a certain number of tickets every month is just not true. But that does not mean traffic enforcement never gets focused. See, this is the part most people miss. See, departments can receive grants or run focused enforcement details for specific safety problems. Maybe there's been a rise in serious crashes at one specific intersection. Maybe there's a stretch of road with lots of speeding complaints. Maybe there's a DUI operation during a busy holiday weekend. When that happens, officers may be assigned to work that problem. They may work an extra job or a specific traffic detail. And yes, if they are assigned to look for seatbelt violations, speeding, or impaired drivers, you may see more stops and more citations. But that does not mean every officer has a personal quota. It means the department has identified a traffic safety problem and assigned people to address it. There's a huge difference between someone saying, hey, you need to write 10 tickets before Friday, and hey, you're assigned to a traffic safety detail tonight. Watch this area and enforce any violations you actually observe. One is a quota, the other is an assignment. Now, where the conversation gets a little more complicated, departments can still look for activity. An officer may be asked about the work they did during a shift. If an officer works a specific traffic detail near a school and comes back with 0 stops, a supervisor may ask what happened. Was the traffic light? Were there calls for service? Did the officer see violations but just use warnings? Or was there another incident that took the entire shift? This is asking for context. The problem starts when a department stops asking about context and starts focusing on a specific number. A number by itself does not tell you whether an officer did good police work. One officer may write several tickets because they worked a dangerous roadway all night, and another may write none because they handled domestic calls, reports, and other incidences. Some officers may give warnings where warnings make sense, and this is why the number alone does not tell the story. Another thing people don't always think about is that every officer has different strengths, weaknesses, and parts of the job that they enjoy more than others. Some officers are very traffic stop oriented. They enjoy traffic work. They're good at spotting violations. They know all of the codes. They know which roads have the most problems. So they make lots of stops during a shift because that's what they're focused on. And that's the area they're the strongest in. Other officers are more focused on calls for service. They may spend most of the shift handling domestic calls, theft reports, disturbances, investigations, victim follow ups, or helping other officers on other incidents. And then there are officers who fall anywhere in the middle, but that does not mean traffic focused officers are just padding their numbers. And it does not mean that call focused officers are avoiding traffic stops. It means police work is not one size fits all. Different officers work different areas in different shifts, different assignments, and different types of calls. You could have two officers working in the same department and see completely different ticket totals at the end of the month. One may have spent nights on the road with a constant speeding complaint, and the other have spent those same nights running call to call. Looking only at the tickets would not tell you who worked harder, who did better police work, or whether either officer had a quota. It would only tell you how many citations they wrote total. So why does this quota myth survive? Well, the myth survives because it feels believable. Nobody likes getting a ticket, especially when it's not for something obvious. When it's for something like a lane change violation that's harder to judge from the driver's perspective, it's easy to wonder whether that officer really saw a violation or they're just trying to write a ticket to hit a certain number. And sometimes people hear phrases like activity, productivity, or traffic enforcement and assume those words mean quota, but they rarely automatically mean that. A focused traffic campaign can be legitimate. A grant can be legitimate. A supervisor asking for an explanation can be legitimate. The real question is whether an officer is being required to produce a specific number of tickets, regardless of what actually happens on the road. And that's the line. So, do cops really have ticket quotas? My answer, from my own experience, no. Again, I went months without making a single traffic stop, and nobody came looking for a stack of tickets from me. Now, there is no single rule for every agency in America. Again, some states specifically ban formal or informal quotas, but a lot of departments track activity, they run focused traffic details, and they use grants to address real safety problems. But that is not the same as forcing every officer to write a certain number of tickets. So if you get stopped, do not automatically assume the officer is trying to fill a quota. Ask yourself, what violation did the officer say they observed? And if you're out and about and you see lots of officers making traffic stops or working a specific area, the better question is, what safety problem are they trying to address? Because lots of stops and lots of tickets does not mean that there's a quota number trying to be filled. Police work is full of assumptions. Some turn out to be true, many don't. And the only way to tell the difference is to look past the rumor and understand how the system actually works. If you enjoyed this video and want more behind the scenes look at what police work really is like from someone who does the job every day, subscribe to Cop Lore.